diverse politicians who are far more literate on the question of coloured people's genealogy and coloured politics than I am. And so some of them will come back and talk about the first persons, not using the word coloured, a different one, but still a different one from black or white. And so there's genuine deep complexity, if you want to be intellectual about it, around the question of the origins of the coloured community. How do we self-identify different coloured communities in different parts of the country that have links to, say, Malaysia or to other parts of the globe? And so that complexity must be acknowledged. So for me to just say, I'm going to come on Vasler's Corner and say all coloured people must identify as black is actually to be ignorant about how much of a deep discussion there is that hasn't been lifted to the public surface. And if I'm worth my salt as a broadcaster, I should bring some of those coloured poets, thinkers into my platform and allow them to show off to the country the complexity of the internal debate between coloured academics. A lot of this happened at UCT, is happening at UWC. Many of them, like Adam Haupt, who are doing amazing, amazing work on this question. And that's why I wouldn't. For me, at a deeply personal level, just speaking as Eusebius, I just think, and it's a quick way to circumvent the complexity, that apartheid history was divide and rule. They benefited from us thinking of ourselves in lagers,
silos.
Right? Because when we think in silos, we're not cooperating against the beast. And the beast is white supremacy. And I just think that we should not lose sight of how some of our sense of being a homogeneous community was actually one that was constructed by the apartheid architects. And they are the biggest winners when we continue to perpetuate those differences.
Of course. I want to ask one more question before you speak to us about sex.
Yes.
You spoke about English. I love the English language, by the way. So I was well colonized. They did well, the British. You've assimilated to English as a language of choice. You believe your vocabulary is deeper. You can explain things. You can debate, etc. You assimilated. Now you're saying you're black. Why would you not assimilate to whiteness? Because seemingly it's the progressive thing. They're the winners. They in the economy. They etc. etc. Why would you choose? I love English. Maybe I even love the way they dress. I love their tea. I love all the things they came with. But I want to identify with black, the people who actually lost.
Isn't he what Zuma would call like a clever black? Clever black. 702. 702 black, this one. 702 black. I'm not a 702 black.
What's gosh, he's a 702 black.
You said you studied BCom. Now you're asking me BA questions.
Oh, it's because I went to Rhodes. That's my excuse. Everyone at Rhodes is there for journalism and drama, and
that's true.
Us weirdos there for law and accounting. It's like, why are you here? Yo, and the drinking.
And I mean, it's a beautiful question, but let me answer it this way. The simplest way I'll answer it is, when we oppose and reject and fight against white supremacy and whiteness, there are very specific aspects of the colonial mindset and colonial tropes that we are fighting against. Like the idea that white people are intrinsically smarter than us, superior to us. That if we want to debate even the black experience, we must ask Helen Ziller what we should feel as black people about being black. We outsource the final word to a black person. Black people are the ultimate exemplars of what it means to be beautiful, to be convincing. That the idea of what it means to be a strong leader is go and look at what 10 white CEOs are role modeling, and then you'll find the answer. So when we reject whiteness, we are rejecting that entire history of white people setting the standard for everything from beauty to leadership excellence to decency to etiquette. I mean, so much so, this morning, I won't mention his name, I was speaking to a government spokesperson that I really love, and him and I were talking about the Senzo Mayiwa trial and how the advocate, is quite township on the one side, and you've got the one black advocate who is just ungovernable in his etiquette, and you've got a black judge who says to him, advocate, I'm not on your case, but please make sure that when you put on, I might get the terminology wrong, when you put on the regalia, that you do it in the proper way. And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on there is that we've imported the etiquette in terms of court etiquette from England, and it's the norm here. And here you have two very smart black people struggling in the Queen's English to police each other using the Queen's etiquette.
100%.
So that's the kind of nonsense we should reject.
Go cut your dreads off.
Yes.
This is not professional.
What used to piss me off.
So
that's all those legal people used to wear that wig in court.
Yes.
And even when they leave the court, it's like doing that kind of nonsense.
Clownish.
So that's what I'm rejecting. But where I would disagree with people who want to wholesale say no to anything from the West is that I'm not about to apologize for loving Chopin. I'm not going to apologize that I did classical music at Graham College and got good marks for it, and I loved impressionistic era music. I'm fluent in that stuff. I love J.M. Coetzee's literature. I don't care if you want to go and cancel me because I say that Disgrace by Coetzee is a brilliantly written text just because he's a white man who's gone to Australia. And so I think there's something very foolish about thinking that you must uncritically get rid of every single thing that originates from a white brain or hand, or mouth.
It's also hypocritical.
Yeah.
We love our cell phones and our...
Absolutely.
When imiti namakamba are not working for you, you rush to a hospital and you want that Western medication. So
we pick
a lot
and choose
of it,
anyway,
But it's cognitive dissonance, according to Frantz Fanon.
Yeah, but the important thing is that we are aware that there's a broader history of whiteness. And that is what we fight against. If you go to the average private school and go and audit their libraries, you're going to find a disproportionate number of white authors compared to black authors in a country where 90% of the population is black. That is problematic.
That's a challenge to everyone, that we need more black authors. More people need to write books. Can be a 10-page book, it's fine. J.M. Coetzee, Disgrace, I think he features Grahamstown in that book.
He does, actually.
Amazing book, sorry.
And the SPCA.
That was my last question before we discuss sex and before Spuda takes over.
Nota, when Nota was here, he says when he was in the suburbs, studying in the suburbs, going to school in the suburbs, he was one of the top students. For a couple of years, for a lot of years.
And he was the only black student, I think he said.
Yeah, something like that. And then he went back to the township and he was like, yo, these blacks are more smarter than I am. and they actually kind of feel he's from white schools and they're probably better over there. And he's like, no, I'm from there. I was the smartest over there.
Yes,
exactly. And I'm here. I'm not even one of the top 10 smart guys at school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Quite an interesting debate. Now, let's talk about radio and broadcasting, which is when I got, I started getting familiar with your career. I don't think at some point when when you're growing up the times at which we did, you kind of feel, I want to be on radio as the type of minds that you guys are. But I think you kind of feel, I want to be on radio, the type of, upbringing that I had, minds that I had.
Are you excluding yourself? Stop it.
I'm a DJ.
I don't know what you're doing, but what you're doing is pop.
I'm a DJ. It's not pop. But no,
I hear you.
But I don't think when an Ausakula, you think what you do well as a broadcaster, maybe it's not a career that is looked at as cool, because you kind of feel maybe it's for older people who are more smarter, who are more educated. But when did it strike to say, you know what, I can actually do well on radio? Let's talk about your broadcasting career on radio.
The start of my radio career was a little bit shallow, mixed with some not so shallow sort of motivations. I knew that I will get bored inside a maths model. And so, I was trying to be a management consultant. It didn't work. I got bored, really, really bored, working at one that I normally wouldn't mention because it was cool. But now that they've been implicated in state capture, I won't mention them.
Oh, I know them.
It's no longer cool to mention them. And then I just decided, what actually am I excited about? And I thought I like having an audience. I like talking and debating. The most fun extramural activity I had in high school and university was debating. It just turned me on. And so talk radio to me just made complete sense. So when I approached 702, the station manager and the program manager, it was because I thought it would actually really be nice to do what these guys do on radio. And of course I was being arrogant because some talk radio hosts, in my mind, were not doing as good a job as I thought can be done to ask really analytical questions, to really hold power accountable, and not to be scared of politicians in particular. And when I hear them on radio, I thought, but if this guy can be there, then why can't I be? So I really enjoyed, once I got on behind the mic, suddenly having to shift as a seasoned debater, appreciating that communicating on radio is different to being a high school debater. Storytelling is more important than it is in debating. In debating, it's all about data and facts.
Yes.
Now you're like, so what happens, Subu? How do you feel? Teasing the story out, nodding like you're nodding now, and hoping I can move you a little bit. So the medium I just fell in love with learning how to entertain people and how to be compelling. Being clever or thinking that you are clever is secondary. And I think the mistake currently, if I can be spicy and subtweet, is that